All right, this example is lengthy just because it's basically two problems in one. It says solve the equation using two different methods, and which do you prefer and why? On the video, I'm going to show you factoring and quadratic formula. So think 2-3 and this one right here. But you could also do completing the square. So I'll leave that on the next slide so that you can see what completing the square is, and then which do you prefer and why. So remember, when we factor, we always have to multiply a times c, which is 6 times negative 20, which is negative 120. And then we ask ourselves, what multiplies to get negative 120, but adds to get negative 7? Okay. And my two numbers are 8 and negative 15. If I didn't have the answer key in front of me, that probably would have taken longer to figure that out. So if you're like, how did she know that? Because I'm looking at the key. If you're not sure, remember, you can make a whole list of all the things that multiply to get 120 and then figure out which ones would add together to get negative 7. All right, so now we're going to split the middle term. So we've got 6x squared plus 8x minus 15x minus 20. And remember, that does equal 0, but we can tack that on later. So factor by grouping, I have 2x in common, which leaves me with 3x plus 4. Here I have negative 5 in common, which leaves me with 3x plus 4. My parentheses match, so that's a good sign. My leftovers are 2x minus 5. And I'm going to set each one of those equal to 0 to solve. Okay, so I'm solving this with the assumption that you have mastered factoring. So subtract 4, divide by 3. Add 5 and divide by 2. And I get the answers negative 4/3 and 3/2. All right, so that's factoring. Let's switch over to quadratic formula. So in that very first video going along with this, I was talking about how quadratic formula always works even for factoring type problems. Let's look at that. So x equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Give yourself a second to catch up there. All right. I'm going to be your calculator for a second to speed this up because I've taken enough of your time. The square root of 529, or this equals the square root of 529. And then, because I know you have all of your perfect squares memorized, just kidding, I didn't have this one memorized either. The square root of 529 is actually 23. So type that in your calculator. It won't give you a crazy decimal like the square root of 5 it would be just 23. All right. So now I have 7 plus 23 over 12. And then I have 7 minus 23 over 12. So this will give me my positive answer, which ends up being 30 over 12. And then, this one ends up being 7 minus 23 is, let's see, 23 minus 3. Okay. Which then gives me negative 4/3 and 5/2. Which, yay, that does equal the other side. I have found the same answers. They are the same. And if you heard all the hesitation in my voice, it's because my key is actually wrong on that one. And so I was very confused with myself. But got it now. Yeah. So now think about, I will show you on the next slide again, completing the square, but think about which one of those ways do you like? Do you like to factor when you can, or would you rather just use quadratic formula all the time? Or maybe completing the square. Maybe you do like that one.